They said it was just another mission. But what they didn't know was that this one would haunt them for the rest of their lives. High above the clouds over Germany, late in the war, you can hear the low, deep rumble of engines. It's a sound that's become a part of the sky itself. On the radio, the clipped, static-filled chatter of bomber crews cuts through the noise. Young men thousands of feet in the air, flying into the heart of a dying empire. It's 1945. The war in Europe is almost over. Hitler's forces are collapsing, retreating on all fronts. For the Allies, the job now is to make sure that retreat is as chaotic and broken as possible. The orders are simple. Bomb what's left. Take out the bridges, the supply routes, the rail yards, anything that could give the German army a chance to regroup. And caught up in that massive, grinding machine is the crew of an American B-17 bomber. They're young, they're exhausted, and honestly, they just want to make it home alive. The war has been long, and the cost has been high. Peace feels so close you can almost taste it. Our story centers on the pilot. He's a quiet man, maybe in his mid-20s, but with the eyes of someone much older. He's flown dozens of missions, seen more destruction than any person should. He's not what you'd call a hero type, not the kind of guy looking for a medal. He's just done with death. He spends his downtime counting the days until it's all over. But he follows orders. He always has. It's what keeps you and your crew alive. Let's rewind just a few hours. The mission briefing. A stuffy tent, the air thick with cigarette smoke and tension. A map is pinned to a board. The target for today is a small German town, marked with a red circle. Intelligence calls it a strategic point. They say there's an ammunition depot hidden there, a key link in the German supply chain. The orders are clear: hit it, confirm the destruction, and return to base. No one asks any questions. You don't ask questions in a war. Dawn breaks. The ground is slick with frost. As the massive bomber lumbers down the runway and climbs through the clouds, the crew settles into their routine. They joke around, drink the notoriously bad coffee, and do everything they can not to think about the people living in that red circle on the map. The sound inside the plane is a world of its own. The constant heavy hum of the engines, the metallic creaks of the fuselage under stress, the pilot's steady, quiet breathing over the intercom. It's the sound of just another day at the office, an office that happens to be 25,000 feet in the air and filled with high explosives. As they approach the target coordinates, the pilot leans forward, looking down through the bombardier's glass nose. The clouds part, and he sees it. The town. But something's wrong. What he sees doesn't match the briefing. There are no signs of a military site, no camouflaged depots, no columns of trucks, no railway lines, just a quiet cluster of red-roofed houses, a small church with a tall, thin steeple, and he squints. A line of children, like a tiny column of ants, walking down a street. It looks like they're heading to school. Suddenly, the bombardier's voice crackles in his ears. "Target in sight!" The radio follows, a voice from Squadron Command, clear and impersonal. "You are clear to drop." And in that moment, the pilot hesitates. His gloved hands tighten on the controls. The whole world seems to slow down. His crew is waiting. The bombardier's thumb is hovering over the release button. One decision. A lifetime of training tells him to follow the order. A court-martial, or worse, getting his crew shot down for going off script, flashes through his mind. His co-pilot's voice is tense. "What are we waiting for? Let's get this done." The navigator shouts they're falling behind schedule. The ground is rushing up to meet them. And a terrible thought hits the pilot. Even if he doesn't drop the bombs, the next bomber in the formation behind them will. The town will burn anyway. He's trapped. Caught between his duty as a soldier and his conscience as a human being. What do you do? What would any of us do? In a single fluid motion, a choice made in a heartbeat, he banks the plane. just a slight, almost imperceptible turn. He orders the bombardier to hold. The crew looks at him, confused, alarmed. Then, as they fly over a patch of empty farmland a few miles past the town, he gives the command. Release! The bombs fall away, a string of dark teardrops against the sky. A few seconds later, the ground erupts in a storm of dirt and fire, far enough away to only rattle the windows of the village, but not destroy it. The radio explodes. His squadron leader is demanding to know what happened. Report status. What was the issue? The pilot takes a breath. And he lies. He says there was thick cloud cover that he couldn't get a positive visual confirmation on the target. It was a standard procedure, a plausible excuse. A long, heavy silence follows on the radio. Then a simple, "Roger that, return to base." No one speaks for the rest of the flight home. The familiar hum of the engines now feels different, heavy. The crew knows what he did. He knows they know. But nothing is said. Back at the base, it's not over. He's interrogated, questioned by his superiors. A formal report is written up. It's a serious offense. But then something happens that changes everything. Just days later, the war in Europe officially ends. In the chaos and celebration, the file on the pilot who missed his target gets pushed to the bottom of a very large pile. It goes nowhere. There's no medal for what he did, but there's no punishment either. It's just another mission, crossed off a list. He never tells anyone the full story. He packs it away, deep inside, and goes home. Years pass. The war becomes a shadow in his life. He gets married, raises a family, lives a quiet, ordinary life. He doesn't talk about what happened up there in the skies over Germany, but some nights, he dreams of it. He sees the red-roofed houses, the church steeple, and the line of children walking to school. He wonders if they survived the rest of the war. He wonders if his choice made any difference at all. Decades go by. We're now in the 1980s. A young German historian is researching local town histories from the war. She stumbles upon a curious anomaly. A small village that, for some reason, was mysteriously spared. Every other town in the area with supposed strategic value was heavily bombed and left in ruins. But this one, it was untouched. Digging through Allied records, she eventually traces the story to a single American B-17 bomber that flew over on the designated day but, according to the official report, failed to drop its payload due to cloud cover. She keeps digging, and eventually she finds the pilot's name. Letters are exchanged, slowly at first. The pilot, now an old man with grandkids of his own, is hesitant. But the historian persists. And then he learns the truth. The town remembers. They knew a bomber had flown over. They heard the explosions in the distance. They never knew why they were spared, but they never forgot it. They held a ceremony every year. They planted a tree in the town square. They told their children and their grandchildren the story of the angel pilot, the one who saw them and for some reason turned away. The old pilot sits there holding a letter from the town's mayor, and for the first time in over 40 years, he allows himself to believe he did the right thing. He never called himself a hero. To him, he was just a soldier who broke an order one time. But to a whole town he'd never met, he was a guardian angel. Wars end. Medals fade and tarnish. Official records get buried in dusty archives, but an act of mercy, an act of conscience, that leaves a mark that time can't erase. One man broke formation that day. He chose humanity over orders, and because he did, hundreds of lives continued, quietly, peacefully, and for a long time, completely unseen by history. But they were seen by him, and that, it turns out, was enough. Thanks so much for watching. If stories like this move you, consider subscribing and joining our community. We'll see you in the next one.